Hey everyone, I wanted to clarify your French Revolution test about Napoleon in the essay. And so I just wanted to kind of go with you how I would have written the essay and also give you kind of some guiding points if you choose to rewrite the essay, which I really, really hope all of you do. It's a great learning technique to review the information and then work on that writing skill. So I'm going to share my screen for you. And so what we have right here is the actual question. So it asks, analyze the ways in which Napoleon Bonaparte both supported and undermined the goals of the French Revolution during his rule of France, 1799 to 1815. And then I would come to my blank document. What I'm going to do, right, is just literally put it in there so that it's a nice guiding point for me so that I remember exactly what we're trying to talk about. And so when I think about this, right, we need to be talking about obviously Napoleon and his accomplishments, what he tries to do. I think you guys really showed you understood Napoleon for the most part. What you didn't necessarily do was talk about the goals of the revolution. And I think that is really where we need to go. So first, I'm just going to write the outline, right? And this is what I encourage you to do. Typically, you have about 40 minutes to write the long essay question. And you want to always plan at least 5 minutes of that, of just what are you going to write, right? Like start planning out your ideas so that you can get your thoughts formulated and then you can actually go into writing your essay. And so what I would do is I would, go into the intro. And the first thing I would talk about, obviously, is context, right? This is the contextualization. And with this, here, I'll try and zoom in. If you're talking about the French Revolution, the French Revolution, a lot of you related it to the American Revolution, and that's okay. But what's the American Revolution stemmed off of, right? This is all about the Enlightenment. And when you think about the Enlightenment in particular, you want to be thinking about, I think of John Locke automatically. So life, liberty, property. Okay. And so I would say something of like, in the 1700s, Europe went through the age of enlightenment, where philosophers and political scientists were challenging authority. First came with the scientific revolution and challenging the geocentric view that this was related then to politics, to challenging the king's, what is it called? Sorry, divine right and political mandates. Philosophers of the Enlightenment challenged the king. Challenged the king's rule further by saying the role of government was to protect people's basic human rights, like life and liberty. The French Revolution founded itself, French Revolution goals in 1789 were based on these Enlightenment ideals. When Napoleon came into power in 1799, however, he challenged enlightened maybe he challenged the age of enlightenment, right? So I know I'm telling you to like write your outline, but I just wanted to show you how this would kind of look of what I'm thinking of, right? Okay, so he challenged the age of enlightenment. So Napoleon supported the goals of the revolution by creating the Napoleonic Code. I think a lot of you talked about this. And reforming the taxation system. Again, a lot of you wrote on that, but he undermined the goals of the revolution by not creating a constitutional monarchy. So I actually need to go back in here, right? 'Cause I'm not loving this. So I'm saying, okay, here's Europe, philosophers, challenging geocentric, related this to politics, challenging the king's divine rights and political mandates. Philosophers of the Enlightenment challenged the king's rule further by saying the role of the government was to protect people's human rights like life and liberty. The French Revolution's goals in 1789 were based on these Enlightenment ideals when they stated they were fighting for liberty, equality, fraternity, like liberté, égalité, fraternité. I love my French accent right there. But that's actually, if you remember, that's what their revolutionary flag is, right? It's the blue, the white, and the red. Those three colors are representing liberty, equality, fraternity. Fraternity means like brotherhood, connection together as a community. And so now when we're looking at it, we've identified the goals of the revolution, and then we can go through, right? So when Napoleon came to power in 1799, however, he challenged this, or let's put in, he challenged those goals. Napoleon supported the goals of the revolution by creating the Napoleonic Code. And I'd actually put in here, right? Like this is liberty and reforming the taxation system. This is equality. But he undermined the goals of the revolution by not creating a constitutional monarchy. And this would fit into fraternity. Okay, so I know I kind of talked about this a little bit. If I was going to if this is your paragraph, I would want to make sure you have context. I would want to talk about the goals of the revolution, and I want to lead this to the thesis. Okay, so the first one is the context. So I would go through, and this was a little bit longer, but I'd actually say all of this, that first part would be like the context. We're talking about the goals of the revolution. Here we go. Those are the goals. And then thesis. I always highlight our thesis in yellow because it's the brightest. It's the guiding argument throughout your entire essay. And then I would say down here is our thesis. Please notice that the thesis is the last sentence of the paragraph. Okay, it's really broadening. It's from a very broad concept of the age of enlightenment, right? Just idea of life and liberty, property, whatever you want to say, but mostly life and liberty. And then it's narrowing it down and bringing it very specific to exactly what you want to say in your in the rest of your paper. Notice also in this paper that I am identifying what our 3 body paragraphs are on. Our first body paragraph is on liberty with the Napoleonic Code. Our second body paragraph is on equality with the taxation system. And then our third body paragraph is on undermining those goals by not creating a constitutional monarchy and identifying fraternity with there. Okay, so now I'm going to take this out. And I'm just going into body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3. So body paragraph 1 is on liberty, Napoleonic Code. Zoom in again. Sorry. Body paragraph 2 is on equality, taxation system. And then body paragraph 3 is on becoming emperor, right? Emperor, and this is with fraternity. So under body paragraph 1, I'd be talking about Napoleonic Code and what it did, right? So within the Napoleonic Code, we are creating, oh my God, my mind just went blank, and that's okay. See, this is what happens in the writing process. Our minds always go blank. Your mind is going to go blank on the AP. That's okay. Just kind of, bring it back as best you can, right? So the Napoleonic Code, this is all about civil liberties. And you can even put equality before the law, okay? Recognize that every single person has life, has liberty, has equality in front of the law, that those are inalienable rights. That's what I'm trying to say. But this is also a great opportunity to recognize that women were excluded. And this is, that's that counterpoint. So even though you're talking about, he moved forward with the Napoleonic Code, you can still write this within the same paragraph. And I think that shows a lot of depth that's really going to add onto your analysis for that second point for analysis. I think this is a perfect example of that. So this undermines the revolution. You could even talk about Olympe de Gouges in there, right? With what is it? The Declaration of Rights of Men and Women. So the Declaration of the Rights of Man was written beforehand. That's the founding for the revolution itself back in 1789. And then Olympe de Gouges wrote the same thing. She ends up going to the guillotine because of it, right? But she's recognizing that women should have been a part of this conversation and should have had equality. And yet Napoleon, even though 10 years later, 15 years later, when he's publishing the Napoleonic Code in, what is that, 1801, 1802 or something, 1804, somewhere around there, that women are not a part of this. So I think that's a really good second point for analysis. Then you go into the taxation system with body paragraph 2, right? So reforming taxations. A lot of you wrote on this and did such a good job of the inequality pre-revolution for the 3 estates. First 2 estates don't pay taxes. So Napoleon creates a more equal taxation system. And it's not necessarily saying that the 3rd estate doesn't pay high taxes anymore. It's just that now everyone pays taxes. Okay, so now the 1st and the 2nd estate who had not paid taxes before, now they are paying taxes. And so the 3rd estate still has to pay. They're still burdened by that, but it's not as drastic as it was beforehand. So it creates a more just equal taxation system. And I think that's totally fine, right? So typically when you have 3 body paragraphs also, your second body paragraph is usually your smallest, probably your weakest in that sense. You always want to start off strong, something really good that's going to maintain your argument. Napoleonic Code is a great one. You want to end your essay with a really strong argument. That's your 3rd body paragraph with, crowning emperor and everything like that. So it's okay that taxation system, which might not be as strong as the other 2, is your second body paragraph. So then 3rd body paragraph, this is where we're talking about crowning emperor in 1804, taking the crown from the Pope's hands, right? I think that's a part 1. Oh, I missed that even. So crown, with the crown, going back to the Napoleonic Code, also recognizing religious toleration as well. That's part of liberty as well. So crowning with emperor in 1804, expanding empire to throughout most of Europe, even colonies, so on and so forth, right? And then recognizing that the revolution wanted a constitution, and they had actually written one with the Declaration of the Rights of Man, with Robespierre, but Napoleon takes that away when he crowns himself. There's no clear document that states he has to follow the laws too. And I think that's a big part, right? And so that community, and I think this community isn't united because there isn't a constitution. There isn't a clear document that says everyone has these inalienable rights, including the leader, and the leader cannot take these from you per se. Yes, there's a Napoleonic Code, but again, that also excludes 50% of the population. You can come back and talk about this. So you can make another connection to the Napoleonic Code. You could also talk about, a couple of people talked about this, is, the people don't want this massive empire that he's trying to create, don't want to pay for it or maintain, and they definitely don't want to keep sending their troops out there to fight. Hence why after the 100-day campaign, they're done with him. He is finally exiled to St. Helena. And it's all, you can even talk about in the conclusion, you want to restate the thesis. And then you could also talk about, this is why, it's for these reasons France is returns to conservatism after Napoleon and still faces political and social unrest. Until a constitution is created with Napoleon III in 1848. Right. So again, that could also add in as your contextualization. So feel free to add contextualization in the intro and in the conclusion paragraph, because I think those are great opportunities for you to tell the reader, this is continuing. This does not just end after I restate my thesis, right? Like there's more to it. So you can talk about that as well. Okay, I hope this helps. I'm going to put in these notes for you, but I thought this would help just so that you have an idea of how I would write and how I would get this going. Now, I understand this took more than 5 minutes. That's okay, because now I have a really clear, I wrote my first intro paragraph. And so now I've taken time and I know exactly what I'm writing about, and it'll go quicker now that you've gotten your thoughts down. It's okay to spend time on this, knowing that it'll go quicker because you have an objective, you have a goal, you know exactly where you're headed. I hope this helps. Your essays, your rewrites are due on Thursday of next week. So I understand we don't meet on a Thursday. That's February 29th. It still means you have to get that essay to me and with the correction. So I actually need your rubric. Okay. So the papers that I've handed out, I need those with this essay. So yeah, if you have questions, please reach out to me, or we can also make a time to meet individually and talk about your essay. Thank you.